Today we will be discussing a very important concept, and that important concept is that of opportunity cost, choice, and based on this, the concept of production possibility frontier. Now, choice and opportunity cost are everywhere in our lives. Even if we don't know economics, we are doing this all the time in our lives. For example, those of you who are watching this lecture are foregoing leisure at this point in time. This leisure is the opportunity cost of this lecture. All right. Similarly, those who do not want to watch this lecture and want to sleep, this lecture would be an opportunity cost for their sleep. All right. So the next best alternative that you forego is the opportunity cost for whatever you're doing. And this is very important because we have unlimited wants and limited resources to satisfy those wants. So we cannot satisfy everything. So we have to weigh the opportunity cost, right? True cost of any choice we make between alternatives is expressed by economists through the notion of opportunity cost. Opportunity cost is the loss of other alternatives when one alternative is chosen. When you choose one option, you forego other options. The next best option that you forego is the opportunity cost of your decision. For example, if you have $15, you could either buy a CD of $15 or two paper books of $7.5 each. Cost of opportunity of the CD is a two paperback book. So if you decide to buy a CD, you are foregoing the option of buying two paperback books. So when you're foregoing the option of buying two paperback books, those two paperback books are actually the opportunity cost of that CD. So there are two costs. One is the accounting cost, which is $15 of buying that CD, and the other cost is the opportunity cost, which is the option that you have foregone, which is two paperback books. All right. So this is very important in life. All right. Whenever we make a decision, we have to think in terms of opportunity cost as well. Accounting cost is important, but the opportunity cost as well. For example, those who study uh, uh, forego their leisure time. So that leisure time is the opportunity cost of their study. All right. Based on this concept, the economists have come up with an interesting diagrammatic concept of production possibility curve. How many goods and services an economy is capable of producing is determined by the quantity and quality of resources available to it, together with the state of technical knowledge. These factors determine an economy's production possibility. This means the amount of goods an economy can produce is based on three things: the quality of resources, the quantity of resources, and the technical knowledge that the economy has. When we combine these three things, we are capable of producing something. The more we have quality, quantity, and technical knowledge, the more production possibilities we have in our economy. So our production possibilities increase with the quality of resources, quantity of resources, and the technical knowledge, which helps us in combining all. So an imaginary economy, given its available resources, can either produce capital goods or consumer goods or a combination. Various possibilities are shown below. If you are using all your resources to produce capital goods, you can produce 10,000 capital goods and zero consumer goods. But if you want to produce some consumer goods, you will have to forego a few of capital goods. It can't happen that you can keep on increasing both the goods at one point in time. So if you want to increase the production of consumer goods, you will have to forego a little bit of your capital goods. So if you want 4,000 consumer goods, you will have to forego 2,000 capital goods. Similarly, if you want to produce 8,000 consumer goods, you will have to forego and produce only 6,000 capital goods. It cannot happen that you can increase producing both of these goods. And in the end, if you only wish to produce consumer goods, you can produce 20,000 consumer goods, but at the cost of all the capital goods that you were initially producing. So you'll have to forego all the capital goods, and then you will be producing 20,000 consumer goods. The idea is, if you want to increase one, you will have to decrease the other. It cannot be that you can increasing all the goods at one point in time. It cannot happen that way. All right. So there's a question of opportunity cost. If you want to increase one, you will have to decrease the other. Production possibility curve is also known as production frontier because it draws the boundary between what can and cannot be achieved. It defines what is the maximum production possibility of an economy. You cannot go beyond that. You'll see the curve in a minute and you will understand that. Another alternate name is product transformation curve. Along the curve, different combination of goods is being chosen. Slope of the curve indicates the opportunity cost. Reallocation of resources is an important concept to understand here. To change composition of our output, we need to reallocate resources. In practical life, we have to judge the cost associated with it as well. For example, retraining of labor. at times it's not very easy. For example, you want to switch from capital goods to consumer goods. It's not that easy because your labor is trained to produce capital goods. Your machines are trained to are designed to produce capital goods. They are not designed and not trained to produce consumer goods. So in this case, it's difficult for you to switch that easily from one to another in practical life. It's not that easy. So for that, you have to have high factor mobility, which means the extent to which resources can be reallocated from one line of production to another. It depends on the factor mobility. How quickly can your labor force and your machinery be transferred from producing one line of goods to another? For example, again, I'll go back to the previous example of consumer goods and capital goods. If you want to switch from capital goods to consumer goods, you'll have to have a flexible labor force and flexible machinery, which can easily move from one line of production to another. But remember, this is not very easy. At times, this will take a lot of duration. This will take a lot of time for retraining the labor force, for redesigning your machinery. All right. So practically, it's not that easy. Important concepts that can be explained through the production possibility curve. Now we have a production possibility curve in front of us. Now the concepts that we can explain through this are three important economic concepts. Number one is efficiency. Let's say this curve, which has points A, B, and C, is your production possibility curve. So you can produce maximum on this curve, all right? And if you are producing at point X, all right, cotton and wine, let's say, if you're producing at point X, then you are wasting a lot of resources because you can produce up till point B, A, or C. So you have the problem of inefficiency. So the PPF also helps us understand the concept of efficiency. Whenever you want to produce on the production possibility frontier. If you are producing within it, which means at point X, you are wasting your resources. And on point Y, you cannot go because that is beyond your reach. That is beyond what you can produce. That is beyond your resources, right? This would mean that you going to point Y without additional discovery of resources or without additional accumulation of capital is impossible. So if you are producing at point X, you are inefficient. You cannot produce at point Y. So the efficient points of production are along the curve or on the curve A, B, and C. So this is how efficiency is explained through the production possibility curve, that all the points on the curve are efficient points of production. Anything within that is inefficient. Anything beyond that is impossible. This is how efficiency is explained through the PPF. The other question, the important concept that is explained through the PPF is the opportunity cost. Let's say you are at point A. So at point A, you are producing a lot of product A, which is wine, and little bit of product B, which is cotton. But if you want to produce more cotton and move to point B or C, you cannot do without compromising on the production of product A, right? So if you want to produce more cotton, you have to compromise on wine. This is opportunity cost. This is how the concept of opportunity cost is explained to the production possibility curve. That if you want to increase the production of one good, you will have to forego the other one. It cannot happen that you can keep on increasing both the goods at one point in time. The third important concept that is explained through the production possibility curve is the concept of economic growth. Whenever new resources in your economy would get discovered, whenever you will increase the quality of your resources or your capital accumulation will increase, your PPF will move towards point Y. Let's say you discover new reserves of oil, or you discover new reserves of coal, or you discover new reserves of energy, or your human capital gets trained, so your PPF would move from the existing point towards the point Y. It would move outward. So economic growth can also be explained through the PPF. Whenever economic growth happens, your PPF moves outwards. Whenever economic recession happens, your PPF will move inward. All right. So these are three important concepts that can be explained through the production possibility curve. Now, how the shift happens. This is very important. If the economy's capacity to produce goods is increasing, the production possibility curve will be moving outwards over time. Right. This indicates that economic growth has taken place. Economic growth shifts the boundary outward and makes it possible to produce more of all goods. All right. So when you have economic growth, you have new discovery of resources, or your people are more trained, or their skill set improves. So your economy would be eventually producing more, and your PPF would move outwards, as shown in the diagram. So factors responsible for the shift: improvement in the state of technology. For example, you replace farmers with tractors. All right. So your per capita yield of crops and agriculture would increase, and your PPF would move outward. Increase in the labor force and labor productivity. Why do you think Canada keeps on giving immigration? Because they want more and more people to come in Canada, and they want their PPF to move outward. As labor force will increase, their production will increase, and their PPF will move outward, which means they'll have economic growth. Another way is to increase the productivity of your existing labor. If your labor gets more skilled, if the skill level improves, then again your PPF will move outward, right? Increase in capital stock or investment, or investment happens in your country. People come in, bring in money, and establish factories in your country. Again, this will also give a boost to economic growth, and your PPF will move outward. Discovery of new resources. For example, new energy resources are discovered in your country. New coal reserves are discovered in your country. New oil reserves are discovered in your country. These things will take the PPF outward. Similarly, if there is a natural catastrophe, if there is a natural calamity, if there is an earthquake, your PPF will move inside. Right now, we have this COVID-19 pandemic. It might bring in the PPF inside, because people might find it difficult to work at their capacities, and economies will face this problem. In the process of production, resources are used up and they need to be replaced if production possibilities are to be maintained. Now, this is an important concept. Your resources and especially your machines and capital need to be replaced, need to be replenished, if you want to keep on your production possibilities at least at the same level, right? It cannot be that I am using my machines indefinitely without any further investment in them. So I need to keep on investing in my technology, in my machines, in my production methods, in order to maintain my production possibilities. This is required because of the important concept of depreciation or capital consumption. It is the using up of capital goods during the process of production. Let's say you have a factory of manufacturing shoes. So the machine that is used in making shoes will wear and tear over time. It will depreciate. Its capital will get consumed. So after 3 years, 5 years, you need to replace that machinery if you want to sustain that previous level of production. Otherwise, one fine day the machine will break down, and your production possibilities will halt, and your production possibilities will decline. So for that, you need to create capital. Creation of capital goods in the process of production is known as investment. So you create capital through investment. You buy new machines, you buy new production plants, so that you maintain your production possibilities, and if possible, you need to increase your production. A choice has to be made between producing consumer goods or capital goods. The more consumer goods and services produced, the higher the standard of living in the current time period. But the standard of living might fall in the future if there is a failure to produce enough capital goods to replace those products. So you have to make a choice. If you want a lot of consumer goods today, you will be compromising on your future, right? So as they say, if you enjoy a lot of vacations, and if you enjoy buying stuff right now, so your future might be, in future you might not have a lot of savings, and in future you might not have a lot of money to sustain your lifestyle. So you will have to have a balance. You have to have consumer goods as well and capital goods as well in your economy. All right, so that your lifestyle or your living standards in the present and in the future can be sustained. So gross investment minus capital consumption is your net investment. So generally you need to have positive net investment in your economy. Means the amount of investment that you do every year minus the depreciation should be positive. In this case, you will be moving further. If this figure is negative, this means you are consuming more capital than you are investing every year. Then that means that your production possibilities will get eroded over time, and eventually they will halt, or your economy will go into a recession. It will not grow. So this is very important. let's end up here. This is a very important concept that we have discussed today.